welcome to episode number 5 of Life Change Transformation. You'll see a little bit different than the last time because we're sitting in the same room together this time. It's pretty exciting to have her. She's in Canada and now she came down over for a little conference or workshop, and it was an amazing weekend. And she's here, and we just thought we would take advantage of the fact that she's actually here, and it's so great to be in episode just number 5 and be together for one. And the goal is for me to get her point eventually too. So welcome. Once again, my name is Gary Benoit. I am retiring from policing here in the next 40 something shifts.
Wow.
And I'm excited to be here. I'm an author of a book called A Call for Service, and really sort of the Frontline Resiliency Project with the goal in mind to really help people live a better life. And Maeve is a transformational life coach. Maeve.
That's me. And I'm so excited to be here. I keep telling my family at home that if I go on the missing persons list, they need to look for me in Canada. So this is my adopted home. And thank you so much, Gary, for opening the doors and having me here with you today.
Yes.
So today we're kicking off with the theme of the story of the frogs.
Yes. So
this is one that is a story that's close to my heart. So it comes from the Zen Buddhist tradition of koans. So a koan was like, I consider them to be kind of like Aesop's fables, but in the Buddhist tradition, a koan was a story or a message that was kind of given to the students to ponder in meditation, to kind of uncover the essential truth that's kind of hidden in the story. So the story of the frogs goes a little bit like this, where there's a group of frogs out in a wood and they're all moving around as a pack, and 2 of them fall into a really deep pit. And the other frogs are looking in and they see how deep it is. And the 2 inside are trying to jump out. And it seems impossible that it's such a height for them to jump. So the frogs up at the top looking down are saying, you know, you guys are toast. You might as well give up. There's no point even in trying this. And the 2 inside are jumping and jumping. They want to get out, of course. So they keep going. But the ones at the top are like, it's impossible. Don't do it. You know, you might as well give up. You're as good as dead. So one of them is kind of listening and paying attention and feeling a bit depleted and, you know, tries a bit more, but ultimately one of them just gives up and does die. And the other just, you know, I guess maybe gets a bit frightened at the thought of ending the same fate. And she's jumping and jumping and jumping. And the ones at the top are like, you know, why are you doing this to yourself? Why don't you just give up, give in, let it go? You know, you're not going to make it, just die. And she's having none of it. And she keeps going. And the more they're shouting, the more she's jumping. And eventually she does actually makes this enormous effort, enormous leap, and she makes her way out of the pit.
Yes. And
the others are saying, like, were you not listening to us? Like, how did you keep going? Why did you not just give up like the other one? And she said, well, I'm deaf. She said, I couldn't hear what you guys were saying anyway. All I could hear was that, like, I could see you were very animated and you were all kind of making kind of, you know, that she could see they were engaging with her, and she just assumed they were encouraging her to get out, and that they were rooting for her. And so she kept going. So the story, or the moral, I mean, for any of you listening to us, you might have your own interpretations on it, but do you want to jump straight in, Gary, with what comes up for you?
When I heard it, because we talked about this on the weekend, and what really stood out for me in the conversation we had was that sometimes you have to tune out what people are saying and just look at it as being encouragement, because ultimately that was encouragement in this frog's little eyes, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes we have inner dialogue in our head that's not as encouraging.
Yes.
Right? As we would love it to be.
Yeah.
And that inner dialogue can sometimes beat us down and wear us down. And if we listen to it, we could potentially perish inside. And maybe not physically perish, but maybe we would perish. And so it was such a great, it just stood out for me. It's like, man, if we just looked around and saw encouragement everywhere, what could we achieve with just a little more effort, or a little more leaning in, or just one more try?
Yeah.
Right.
One more try. Well, just to pick up on that, I mean, we talk about that a lot, don't we, in terms of this idea from Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich, where, you know, so many people give up when they're 3 steps from gold. So it's that kind of, you know, we're doing it and we're doing it and we're doing it, and we're maybe getting a bit discouraged ourselves. I'm sure many of you listening have your own goals. And if you're working with us, maybe have a vision for things you want to create in your life. And sometimes it just feels like it's not happening fast enough. And if we give into that, and whether it's the internal kind of voice of dissuasion or the external voices that we're buying into, that it's just so easy, and you know, we could be that close to a breakthrough. So really, yeah, I think for me, part of the message anyway is to just tune it out to the extent that you can, or perhaps to just put a positive spin on it anyway,
Perhaps, right?
you know.
It leaves me to think of something else too. I read a book called The Power of One. It's done by Ed Milet, or One Power of One More, Ed Milet. He wrote this book, and he, you know, it's very similar to that last ditch effort, that one more thing. What's that next thing we can be doing? What's that one more thing? You know, sometimes we're going to find ourselves in a pit of despair, or a crisis that feels like we're in a big hole, just like that frog. Right? We're gonna, because life happens. Like, life is not perfect. It doesn't.
Yes.
We, you know, we're gonna have crisis in our lives, and we're gonna be faced with things that may or may not be easy to overcome and may seem insurmountable. But if it was one thing you could do and just keep trying or keep doing, or maybe it is just looking at the outside or looking on the inside, saying, I can encourage myself to do one more thing. What's that one more thing you could be doing? It's a good question to ask yourself if you're listening and you find yourself in a position, you're like, well, what's one more thing? What's the one thing I could do today that would help me get there?
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
And you think about the frogs. I mean, I feel for the frog that listened.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
There you
The
go.
frog that listened to this negative encouragement, what happened to him or her?
She didn't make it.
Didn't make it.
No. No.
Right?
Yeah. And you know, I suppose when we're thinking about who are you listening to, right? So
Another great point of this. Yeah.
so whether it's, you know, the stuff about the economy, whether it's you know, experts around you, whether they're financial experts or medical experts or educational experts, whoever, I mean, at the end of the day, each of us has dominion over what we're going to buy into. I often think, you know, people say, oh, I got bad advice, or, you know, somebody, you know, they didn't tell me the right answer. Well, you know, at the end of the day, each of us has to decide what we're going to let in. Was it Emerson said, you know, stand guardian at the portal of your mind.
Sure.
You want to, and for all of us, you know, us speaking, anybody listening, you want to be thinking, who am I letting in? Michelle Obama was great in the States when her husband was in office, and she used to talk about, you know, we need to surround ourselves by people who lift us up.
Right.
And again, for us, you know, we do that in our work together. We're in a masterminding community, being really selective about the people you allow to kind of share advice or encouragement.
Yeah. I agree. Like, when you think about just who are you allowing to provide you with that, whatever guidance, right? I look back on, you know, if I look back on where I've come from and the journey I've been on, there were some people that didn't really serve me along the way. And it wasn't until I decided to be the master of my own thoughts, right, in that moment, or what I thought was good for me, and you saying yes to things that I thought was going to be firing me up. It wasn't until then that I just start to see that big success start to really show up in my life. And it's a journey, it's a process, and it depends on where you're at in your journey. It depends on where you're sitting right now, because of course we don't know everybody's situation. Everybody's a little bit different. But ultimately, if something's not serving you, it's a good thing to make it be aware of it, and then try to find another way to service it better, or find a different place or a different person or a different whatever that is. Yeah. And I love our community. Our community is pretty awesome.
Yes, it is.
We have a great group of people that will lift you up, and we talk about that. Our coach often says, if you tell your dream or your vision to the wrong person and they raise an eyebrow from the wrong person, or the right person for that matter, it could crush that dream because you're not on solid ground with that yet,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I think it's so important to know that who are we listening to and what are we listening to? What are you filling your day with? Are you scrolling social media?
Yeah.
Like how much negative news can you take in one day? I don't know. That's me.
I agree. I, and my family laugh at me, but I don't listen to the news a whole lot.
Me
And,
neither.
I'm fortunate. My husband is into political science, and he's
Okay.
he's always aware of what's happening. And sometimes I just say, can you fill in the gaps for me there,
Yeah.
please?
Right.
But again, I mean, we can all fill in the gaps for ourselves, but we don't have to be doing it every hour on the hour. I think during the COVID pandemic and we can all relate to that, that
Goodness.
like you had to be so conscious of where were you going to take your news feed from, and making sure you were getting it from reliable sources. And, social media, it's kind of hard to find out what's reliable in social media. So
Very true.
sometimes it's just to cut it out a bit,
Yeah.
and or minimize it. And again, I mean, I'm not proselytizing for anyone
No.
one approach here, but for everybody listening to make your own choices. Is it serving me? It's not, is it good or bad, or is it right or wrong, but is it serving me in the context of the results I want to experience in my life, and the direction I'm going in? Is it serving me to be surrounding myself with these ideas, these thoughts, or do they lift me up or do they bring me down? And again, you're the only one who can determine that for yourself, but do the determining.
Correct. Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
is it expansive or contracted?
Exactly.
And people will probably wonder, well, what does it matter if I want to be informed? I've heard lots of times where they're like, I want to be informed. I want to make sure I know what's going on in the world. And
Yes.
we're not saying you get to shut out the world. Like I know what I do. Me personally, I don't watch the news. I catch the headlines. And that's my basis for most of that stuff. So I just catch the headlines because that to me is enough to know what's kind of happening. And I can sort of feel that's for me. But ultimately, if you are so focused on that particular area, realm, whatever that is, right? You're going to create those results. You're going to create that chaos in your own life, and you're going to create that because you're focused on it. And that's why it's so important to know or be aware of what are you consuming or what are you putting into your thought processes in that way. Much like, if you are, we talked about it before, right? That reticular activating system, right? We
Yes.
talked about it. We've had a comment about it. We've had, discussions around it. But if my son and I, he's 17 years old. We've been playing. I think I said the story before, but I'll tell it again because I think it's so much fun. We have the punch buggy game or the beetle game. So in here, it's like if you see it, you give it's a little little tap on the shoulder or on the leg or whatever. We don't actually punch each other, but it's like it's like a tag game for us. We tag each other because it's more humane. Because I started when he was little, like 7 or 8 years old. But everywhere I go now, all I see is Volkswagen Beetles because that's been such a thing that we've been doing for so many years. It just becomes absolute habit now. I don't even have to think about it. And I see them everywhere. And it's such a great illustration because I've been doing it since he was 8 or 9 years old.
Mm-hmm.
He's 17. So that's like 10 years of thoughts around looking for Volkswagen Beetles. But that's how quickly 10 years can go by fast, and you can have an operating system that doesn't serve you necessarily. I'm not saying that doesn't serve me, but it's just right.
Sure. Well, and I can tell you, I haven't seen a Volkswagen Beetle in the week that I have been here. But for sure they exist, and you've seen them even this weekend. Yeah. So again, like we know this, what we focus on expands. So, what I'm listening to on the radio, in the car, what I'm watching on TV, what I'm surfing on the internet, what I'm reading in the literature I'm reading, what I'm talking to with friends and family, all of it is generating more of the same. So again, these laws are working all the time, and they don't change, but they're interpreting what we're doing and they're working with it. So if my attention is on chaos and trouble and problems, I'm going to witness and experience more of that. And if my attention is on possibility and solution and belief that there's always a way forward and there's always possibility, then I will find ways forward and possibility. And it's as simple as that.
Right. And that's ties right back to the frogs, right? The one thought, there's a way forward. I'm going to make this. I'm going to do this. The other one's like, No, this is it. I'm hearing them. They're right. It's impossible. I'm not going to be able to do this.
Yeah.
And it's how quickly, we could crush or kill a dream just because we didn't potentially open our mind to a different way of viewing a situation
Yeah.
or making a decision.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes me think.
I know, right?
How many times did I give up along the way before I was aware of these
That is
principles?
such
Yeah.
an interesting question you just posed there. Like, is really how close, exactly. I mean, how many times were you doing something and how close were you to that golden
Breakthrough.
or that golden moment, right? That you just said, maybe I should, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
Which is actually, it's a little bit sad in a way when you think about all the stuff that may have been had we had the awareness.
Yeah.
Right.
So we're not ones really focusing on, oh my gosh,
No.
all the times I screwed
No.
up. But we can use it. I mean, having an awareness of some of them, we can harness that and kind of say, okay, I'm not going there again. I don't want that to be my story again. I want to remember these principles, remember the little story of the frog. So that's not my outcome in future.
Like I said, the frog in that moment is really fighting for his life, right?
Yes.
Like he's trying to jump out. Like it's get out or die, essentially, right? The one does die. And sometimes it's like when we're fighting for whatever we're looking at in our lives, sometimes it is like that.
Yeah.
And sometimes, or maybe you business venture and you've gone all in on this business venture. You got to succeed or you could be in trouble. Those are the moments you just have to really focus on. If you've made that choice, you're in that position, really think about what the end result is and what it's going to be like when you are successful, and really come from that place of success before you throw in the towel. Make sure you connect with that end result, possibility, because everything is possible if you just lean into it a little bit.
Yeah. And I think it comes back to what you were saying earlier about, just that one last push. We were on a call earlier today. I think you were there anyway. And we were talking about this, and keeping going and keeping going. And our coach was saying, she quoted Henry Ford on saying, when you think you've done everything you can, you haven't. So, yes. So again, what's that? And again, it's not about, running ourselves into the ground and being completely depleted, but what's the thing I can do? And sometimes it's just, managing my mindset again, or having an early night and, having a sleep on it, pausing before I have a reaction to the disappointment, right. or, acting out of tiredness again, what is it? The halt symbol, if you're hungry, angry, lonely, or tired, right. Don't give up, don't make any kind of rash decisions in those moments. Yes. And to just, again, I would say, surround yourself with people who believe in possibility, who know that we are spiritual beings having a human experience, who know that we have more inside us than any circumstance, situation, or condition. And having those people there to say, well, what about this? And remember that, and you've got this. Mm-hmm. You've got this.
Yeah. When you talk about the one more, that not giving up piece, I'm sure people have seen it on the YouTube or other places, but you think about the most famous failures, right? We talk about people like Oprah. You mentioned Oprah before.
Yeah.
I mean, really, when you consider that the TV executives told her she wasn't fit for TV, how easy would it have been for her to just give in? Right? How easy would it have been to be that second frog looking up, telling the person looking down, well, you're no good for this. What are you even trying for? Like, what are you even here for? How easy would it have been to give in?
Absolutely.
Probably pretty easy if you didn't have some conviction or passion around what you were doing.
Yeah.
Look at how big she's become. She owns her own darn network now, right? Mm-hmm. She's just absolutely ginormous, right? And so congratulations to her. And that's amazing. And I think it's such a great story of perseverance. And we talk about that perseverance piece. What we're really saying is, what else can we do? What's that one more thing I can do?
Yeah.
Steven Spielberg, right? 3 times rejected from film school. One of the better film producer directors that of our time, really, when you
For
consider
sure.
some of the movies he's done. Um, there's Michael Jordan is always one that comes to my mind too, right? Like nobody really wanted that guy,
Mm.
but he's amazing. He's did change the face of basketball essentially, right? With just a few different things, a few different ways of looking at it. He just kept going. And so I just think there's a lot of people out there that, Walt Disney, someone told Walt Disney he didn't have imagination. Like,
Yeah.
I think that's such a ridiculous thing to even say to the guy who's designed such an amazing thing. I mean, Walt Disney and the whole Disney empire is pretty cool,
It totally is. I
right?
mean,
So,
we've all grown up with
right.
Disney.
So I
Yeah.
don't know. I just think that there's like so many examples out there of, and those are like, of course, really famous and big examples, but it applies in our own lives too, right? Like, you don't have to be necessarily changing the world, but maybe you're changing your world, right? Maybe that one more thing does change your family's life. Maybe that one thing does change your situation. Maybe that one thing helps your parents out or helps, who knows, right? That one thing could change something so big in your world that's just as big as going out and being a Michael Jordan or a Oprah Winfrey
Walt Disney.
or Walt Disney.
Yeah. And I think, again, I mean, nobody needs to feel pressure. Any of you listening, you don't need to feel, oh, I have to do something really big. I think it's just in us doing the things we can do, living the best life we can live, like the ripple effect of that. We just need to, make the choices that are ours to make and the decisions and take the steps that are ours to take and just leave the rest to,
Correct.
that good just rippling on out there
For
into the
sure.
world.
And that might
Yeah.
just be all it is, right? If you just improve your situation and you show up in the world a little bit differently tomorrow, or even the next hour, the next 5 minutes,
Yes.
what is that sending out to other people? Who are you coming in contact with that you're going to enlighten their day? If
Exactly.
someone holds a door open for you or does something good for you at the store, you say thank you to someone who's working at a convenience store or whatever, somewhere else. How, if you're showing up as that person of increase in that way,
Yeah,
then really you're improving the world, because we need more kindness in the world.
absolutely.
And really, if you can just show up that way, and maybe it's just something small, something little, even smaller than that, even for that matter. But I think it's cool, right? I think it's
Yeah.
such a cool thing to just consider what impact we do have on our other people's lives and our own by just continuing to live from a place of vision, a place of our dreams, because everybody deserves whatever they want in their life,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. And I just want to offer one thing in terms of, me being the best I can be. One of the things I want to say, when I think sometimes about the story of the frog, it's so easy to maybe kind of feel angry or frustrated with the ones on the sideline who and
Yeah.
that they got it wrong, and who were they to, one of those little frogs didn't make it, partly because they bought into all of that negativity. So it's very easy to go to blame and shame maybe of those bystanders, but just to remind ourselves that everybody's doing the best they can from
Yes.
where they're at, and they're at their level of awareness. Those frogs thought they were doing a kindness to say give up. And any of you listening today, I mean, you might have people in your life, you've got dreams and goals and ambitions, and there are people around you saying, don't do that, don't go there. What if you're disappointed? What if, and they're coming from a place of not wanting us to be hurt or disappointed or, to feel let down or whatever. And from their perspective, that's a good thing that they're saying to us. So again, just love and light to those people, knowing that they're doing their best, and no judgment, no shame, and you just get on with your thing anyway.
Yeah.
I guess that's what we're trying to say.
And really, they're just trying to protect you in their own way,
Of course. Yeah.
right? Because ultimately, by
Yeah.
you living your best life and stretching for your dreams, you're going to trick, and you tell them, you share them what you're doing right away. It's gonna trigger inside of them something they didn't know was there, and then they outwardly project it as, oh, maybe you shouldn't do that, because it creates a bit of fear for them too.
Exactly.
And they're not trying to kill your dream because they don't want you to have it. They just don't want to see you get hurt.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's, I just think it's really key to just be solid in whatever you want to do. And as if you're listening and you're thinking, well, what does this all mean for me? I think really what it means is that you're going to have a dream or vision, or you probably have them in your mind. You probably don't know exactly, maybe it's not 100% clear in your mind, but you'll have a longing and a discontent that you want to solve a problem,
Yeah.
or like lean into something. And the minute you decide for that dream, things are going to happen. Right. And maybe you might find yourself at the bottom of a pit and you have people telling you you're not going to make it. It's okay. Just lean in, find someone that is going to support you. Look at yourself and talk to yourself in a way that's going to uplift you and come from that vision and give it one more shot.
Yeah. And, when you were saying that, I'm thinking you want to be your own cheerleader,
100%.
because I mean, some of us, there's nothing anybody on the outside could say that would be worse than what we're saying to ourselves.
Oh,
So one of the shifts,
100%.
yeah. So one of the big shifts we can make is just to say, I'm not doing that to myself anymore. I'm going to be my own best friend here. I'm going to be my own biggest cheerleader. I'm going to, give myself the support that I wish I was getting from others. And I think as we do that internally, we will, that's going to shift our energy, and we will absolutely start to attract that on the outside as well. So again, when we talk about, take the step that's yours to take, oftentimes it is really that internal work to manage my mindset, to, not go into the doubt and worry, to, take the action step that, not waiting for the bank loan to come through, or not waiting for the boss who's going to be more supportive, or the spouse who's going to, be more loving, but do the thing that we can do. Not wait for anything to change on the outside. Do that one thing, even if it's just go to bed half an hour earlier and get up, half an hour earlier, and give yourself a bit of time to set your day up well. But if we do all of those things, those tiny little micro moves that we can make, absolutely we're going to change things, and we will attract external support and cheerleaders at the outside.
Yeah. And like I say, when you're ready, or when you're open to it, the person or that coach or that mentor appears.
Yeah.
For like, and that's 100% true, because it happened to me
And me.
and her. Right. And so like, I don't know. I can't even, it's hard for me to put it into words, how true that statement is that when you're ready and you open your mind to whatever, if it's just even the slightest crack, someone shows up in your life, and that's the person you need in that moment to help guide you in that moment. And you may outgrow that person. Maybe you won't, but maybe you will. And that's okay. Then that opens the door to the next person.
The next person.
Right.
Exactly.
And, Maeve does this for a living. She helps people transform their lives in ways that people didn't think possible. And she is a driving force in Ireland with the thinking and the mindset work, and really, really blazing a brand new trail there.
Thank you.
You are. And really, like, so ultimately, if you have more questions about this particular topic, or what does it mean for you? I mean, I would engage with us, send us an email, or touch base with me through the podcast, or I'll let Maeve know, and we'll get it going, because we just want you to be successful. We want you to have the best life you can. There truly is no better way to improve the world and work on ourselves and become better. As soon as we become better, the world becomes better. And our gifts need to be shared with people. And that, I know that sounds kind of funny to say it, but really, we all have gifts and talents, and you deserve to share it with the people around you and the world around you, because that's how we're going to be doing things better here in life. Sometimes I think we've just lost that idea. I think we've lost it, and I think it's time to get back to it. And we just want you to do better. And
yeah. So, and I mean, it is that everybody, if we all do our version of better, and everybody listening, if you become your version of better in your life, then the whole world improves. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. So absolutely reach out, and happy to answer questions via the podcast or via email. You on
Yeah.
our social media, you can find us. And just trusting that, we like those phrases like when the student is ready, the master appears. They're in common parlance because it's true, it's not just something that we say. We say it
Yeah,
because
it's
it's
not a
something,
cliche.
yeah, no, exactly. Or cliches are cliches because they actually are true as
Well, there we
well.
go.
Yeah. So anyway, so if we can be of service as a teacher for you, or if we can be a signpost to a teacher for you, please absolutely reach out and know
Yeah.
that it is absolutely, that's why we're here. We want to serve and we would love to help.
Yeah, for sure. And the other thing too is that we're gonna continue this podcast and we're gonna, you know, move down the road. And as we go, if you have something specific you want to talk about, let us know. We don't mind diving into a situation
Yep.
or a topic or whatever and see we can unpack it for you. Um, we're gonna, we try to make it as real as possible. Like we are who we are. And you know, we're gonna bring up little stories like this lots of times, and because it means something to us, and hopefully it means something to you guys, because you guys are important to us. Everybody that's listening is important to us. I think it's really cool to be doing this and to do it together here in the
It's the
same
truth.
room.
Absolutely.
It's just such a great thing to have done. I don't know. I didn't expect it to be this early in the podcast. I thought,
Yeah.
I thought maybe we might do it down the road, but it's it's number 5, and that's pretty cool. Um, and any,
Power of vision.
yeah, exactly, right. Any final thoughts before we say adieu for another day?
I think the one I'm going to leave people with today is to be your own cheerleader. Just, forget about, dial down all the external noise and just decide to, you do you, and you be the best friend you can be to you, and just even notice what difference that's going to make in the weeks ahead.
Yeah, I think for me, it's be careful who you listen to. Be selective of who you're going to share your dreams and visions with. That to me is what I'll leave you with, and this is why I think that if we create a brand new baby dream, we want to cradle it, caress it, hold it tight, and really watch it grow from a place of love. And we don't want to have it destroyed by doubt or fear or someone saying something that they really have no business even commenting on in your life, because you are the greatest authority on where you stand for yourself in your life. And I think with those two things in mind, you can really go on and live your best life. At least start doing that one more thing. Anything else?
No.
No. Really appreciate you guys tuning in to episode number 5. This is the story of the frogs. It was pretty cool. I really like the story. When she mentioned, I was so excited to unpack this. It's pretty cool. So thank you very much. We'll be back in 2 weeks. We appreciate y'all. Thanks for showing up, and we will see you again in 2 weeks.